Lent is almost here, and we don't want you to let this season slip by unnoticed. Each year, Lent invites us to pause, reflect, and reconnect with God. But we all know how easy it is to let the days fly by without making this sacred season meaningful. At Denison Forum, we want to help you experience Lent and Easter like never before. That's why, to say thank you for your gift of $30 or more, we'll send you your choice of one of Dr. Denison's Lenten devotional books. Choose from Awaken My Heart, To Follow in His Footsteps, The Week That Changed the World, or the Empowered ebook. Sending you your choice of devotional books is our way of saying thanks for your generosity. So please visit supportdef.org today to give and get your devotional guide. That's support, the letter D, the letter F.org. Find a link to give in the episode notes. Don't let Lent pass you by this year. Invest in your spiritual growth and help keep the Daily Article podcast going strong for you and countless others. Lent is almost here. So please, respond soon. Greetings and welcome to the Monday, February the 17th, 2025 edition of the Daily Article Podcast. I'm Chris Elkins from the Denison Forum, narrating today's Daily Article, written by our co-founder, CEO, and good friend, Dr. Jim Denison. Singer and songwriter Sheryl Crow made headlines over the weekend by posting an Instagram video in which she waves goodbye to her Tesla as it is driven away. She explained, quote, "There comes a time when you have to decide what you're willing to align with. So long, Tesla." She added, money donated to at NPR, which is under threat by President Musk, in hopes that the truth will continue to find its way to those willing to know the truth, end quote. She included hashtags for President Musk and Protect the Constitution. Actor Gabriel Brasso, who stars in the Netflix thriller The Night Agent and played a young J.D. Vance in Hillbilly Elegy, takes a different approach. "I don't believe that actors should be famous," he said, speaking out against celebrities who use their platforms to deliver political messages. Continuing, "We're saying words that we're told to say. We're told how to say them. We're told where to stand, and then we're telling people how to vote," end quote. He believes that an entertainer's job is, quote, illegitimate in that way. In his view, he says, "We're court jesters. We're entertaining. We're public servants. We're there to perform, to entertain." And then, all of a sudden, the jester, because he's in the courtroom, starts to be like, "I might want to go sit on the throne," end quote. The preponderance of celebrities seeking political influence across the partisan spectrum stands in sharp contrast with the hero our nation celebrates today. President's Day is officially George Washington's birthday at the federal level. Since 1879, the U.S. has honored Washington in this way, and appropriately so. He led the Continental Army to victory in the American Revolutionary War, presided at the Constitutional Convention of 1787, and served as the first U.S. president from 1789 to 1797. However, he was in many ways a reluctant hero who avoided celebrity whenever he could. When asked to lead the army, Washington responded, "I do not think myself equal to the command I am honored with." After winning the war for independence, he was reluctant to lead the Constitutional Convention lest he be perceived as grasping for power. When elected president, he lamented that he lacked the, quote, competency of political skill necessary to manage the helm, and he said, "Integrity and firmness is all I can promise," end quote. When he voluntarily stepped down from his second term as president, a dumbfounded King George III proclaimed him the greatest character of the age. Historian Matthew Spalding calls Washington the man who would not be king and notes that no one walked away from power with more dignity. Washington exhorted his fellow citizens, "The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism." But his sacrificial and humble patriotism made him the father of our nation in ways no words could. Now, it's our turn. An article on the proliferation of pornography in popular culture notes, the logical endgame of the sexual revolution has been to turn sex into a recreational activity whose only meaning is defined by the people experiencing it and whose only moral issues centers around consent. The facts regarding the devastation of pornography are clear, from its ties to sex trafficking and child abuse to the brain damage it causes. However, given its pervasiveness, if Christians want our broken culture to adopt biblical morality regarding sexual purity, we will first have to model it ourselves. Only when we, from Hebrews 13 verse 4, New Living Translation, remain faithful to one another in marriage, can we expect others to follow our example. In other news, New York Governor Kathy Hochul rejected a request from Louisiana to extradite a doctor who prescribed abortion pills to a pregnant minor in their state, violating their strict anti-abortion law. According to Louisiana authorities, the girl who received the pills experienced a medical emergency and had to be transported to the hospital. The facts regarding the devastation of abortion are clear, from its emotional damage and medical risk for mothers who choose it to the tragedy that more than 63 million babies have lost their lives since the procedure was legalized in 1973. However, despite bans in many states, the number of abortions in the U.S. actually increased in 2023. Given the pervasiveness of abortion, if Christians want our broken culture to adopt biblical morality regarding the sanctity of life, we will first have to model it ourselves. Only when we bless children, as Jesus did in Mark 10, verse 16, by encouraging adoption and caring for women with at-risk pregnancies, can we expect others to follow our example. I could go on, but you understand the point. In a secularized culture that rejects biblical authority, we must be the change we wish to see. This is only fair. If we claim that Jesus transforms people into, quote, new creations, as stated in 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17, the world has the right to expect such transformation in us. Imagine the difference in America if every American Christian imitated Jesus, where we asked, what would Jesus do, and lived accordingly. Consider the evangelists we would become, the ministry we would share, the obedience we would model. Here's what makes imitating Jesus different from emulating any other laudatory figure of history. Jesus will help us do so. St. Augustine observed, Christ takes shape in a believer through the faith that is in his inmost soul. Such a believer, gentle and humble of heart, is called to the freedom of grace. He does not boast of the merit he gains from good works, for they are worth nothing. It is grace itself that is the beginning of merit, as Christ is formed within the believer who accepts the form of Christ, who comes close to Christ by means of spiritual love. End quote. How can we come close to Christ today? First, referencing Romans 8:29, make it our ambition to imitate Jesus. This and nothing less must be our highest purpose in life. Then, admit we cannot imitate Jesus without his help. Ask his Spirit, as taught in Ephesians 5, verse 18, to fill and control us, manifesting the fruit of his character in our lives, listed in Galatians 5, 22 and 23, and using us to demonstrate Christ to the culture. Third, join the Spirit in our sanctification through prayer, Bible study, worship, and other spiritual disciplines. These position us to experience the transformation only God can make in our lives. And fourth, measure success by service. As with Jesus' earthly ministry noted in Matthew 20, verse 28, the consequences of our faithfulness will far outlive our obedience. St. Augustine assured us, the believer who imitates Christ becomes the same as Christ whom he imitates. Will you become the same as Christ today?
We're grateful for our podcast listeners. If you find the Daily Article podcast helps you better understand today's news and cultural issues and then respond biblically, please rate and review the Daily Article podcast on the platform from which you subscribe. That helps people find and follow the Daily Article podcast.